Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Cybersecurity Certification. We genuinely appreciate your valuable time and your interest in our webinar. So thank you so much for joining us. I can see that around 20 plus participants have joined yet, and we are expected to join more participants. But let's start now due to some time limitation. So let me quickly introduce myself and my company. I am Harshad from Knowlathon. Knowlathon is one of the premium training and certification providing organization in India, headquarters in Pune and established in 2020. Knowlathon is only platinum partner in this region. We are aggregated partners of PMI, ISACA, EXI, TUV and others. So that's bit about Knowlathon. In this webinar, you will learn about CISA or CISM certification, and I'm sure you will get more clarity about the certification. So, are you guys really excited today? Just type in the chat, excited. So, before we dive in, let me introduce to our today's esteemed speaker, Ms. Swapna Thala. Ms. Swapna Thala is an information security expert with more than 15 years of experience in governance, risk management, compliance, IT service management, program and project management, and vendor governance. She is also an expert in designing technology courses and educational institutes and universities. So, we understand that your time is valuable and we appreciate your being here today. So if you have any questions, feel free to use our Q&A feature and we will address those at the end of the session. Now, without any delay, I would like to hand it over to Ms. Sapna Thala to kick off today's session. Welcome, Ms. Sapna.
Thank you so much, Harsha. Thanks for that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, ma'am. You can continue.
Wonderful. So thank you all for being here. And that seems like a really good strength. And if Harsha tells me there are more joining in, I think that's a really positive way to go, right? So thank you all for your time once again. And so uh, let's get started. We're going to try to make this as engaging as possible. So feel free to participate in any kind of survey and poll questions that I would be asking to get to know you better. So on that note, a bit of an icebreaker here, and feel free to type into the chat window. What I would definitely want to know is what is your current role? Please type it. CISO, Yatin, hi. And there's more of you. I see there's Vishok, Shri Shail, Gautam is a student. Hi, Gautam. Anuradha, CISA, okay. Say E is other, D would be a student and fresher. Okay. Utkarsh says he's a commerce student. Okay, that's interesting. Nilesh is an IT officer at a bank. Hello, Nilesh. Wonderful. So what I do see is a majority of you here are basically new or you're looking for a career transition students. There's an IT assets manager here. Karan, hello. Hi. So then just trying to get to know you a little more. I'd also like to know what certification are you currently considering? Is it CISA, CISM? Hi, Mabam Rakesh. Hi. Hello. So can you please type in there? You're looking for CISA, CISM, and then Sunil Kumar, you may want to type in also why. I'd like to know why. Why have you picked CISA? How do you relate it to what you're doing currently? So there are a lot of CISAs. Do I see any CISMs here? Nilesh says CISM. All right, can we also have why? When somebody says CISM there, so Nilesh, would you also care to share why CISM? Because most of us here, we are here to discuss the reasons why we would want to go with a CISA or a CISM, and if our reasons to pick one of them is the right way to go. So Anuradha says that there's a potential threat in implementing, okay? So there's a career transition there, somebody who wants to get into cybersecurity. Wonderful. So how many of us generally confuse between, do we want to go for CISA or CISM? Or are you very sure that CISM is your way to go? Wonderful. So that's what we are here for, Gautam, to basically understand and, you will, of course, at the end of this, we're going to have some Q&A sessions. So you can ask me more of your questions where I can give you very straightforward forward suggestions to whatever questions you have. But moving on, I would like to start off as to what I generally have seen in my career. It could be my colleagues, or sometimes it could also be, the participants of some of my courses, right? They generally have a question that, ma'am, do we go for a CISA or a CISM, right? And what I always am caught with is that CISA and CISM, they are very different streams. So let me start off by establishing why the confusion arises, right? So a lot of times, the confusion between CISA and CISM basically arises because a lot of the ISACA certifications, right, they do have that same kind of an acronym fashion where you say it's a CISA, CISM, or a CRISC, right? So, but that's basically an easy confusion to resolve, right? However, there's also the IS part of it. It's not just CISA and CISM, but even I think ISACA also has a CRISC. So the IS part of it is where most of us are confused. So we tend to translate that into information security. So now the very first difference that I would want to call your attention to is the fact that in CISA, the IS stands for information systems and not information security. In CISM, the IS actually defines its scope, which is information security. So how many of you here understand the difference between information systems and information security? When I ask you this question, I'm talking about the scope, right? Please type in. Type into the chat. How many of you understand the difference between information systems and information security? So what is the difference? What is information security? Anyone? Please type in there. Okay, all right. So when you say information, right, to organizations, information means anything that has value from a business perspective, right? Anything that has value for the business. For instance, if you pick a newspaper, does the newspaper have information? Yes, it does. But does that information in the newspaper have value for your organization where you would want to protect it? So that's the question. So information to any organization is an asset only if it adds value to the organization, right? So information security is basically putting policies, controls, right, and processes in place to protect this information, right? So that is information security. But then when you talk about information systems, what you are basically trying to say here is all the systems which process information within your organization. So these could be your laptops, these could be your servers, right? This could also be your network. If you don't think I need more information about that. Gautam, yes, we'll come to that. We will be having a Q&A session and I'll give you more information about it, right? So the scope, as you understand, for what CISA, that is the auditor, right? The Certified Information Systems Auditor, that is the expansion of CISA. So what a CISA does, the auditor does, is he takes care of the information systems, which also includes the security of information, right? However, what a CISM does is he is solely responsible from a security aspect, right? From the security aspect to protect the information from its confidentiality being breached, its integrity being breached, and the fact that information should be available for people who require to use it at the right time and the right amount of access and the right amount of permissions along with that, right? So as you see, the entire scope of CISA and CISM from their scope of, let's say, the systems or the information, from that perspective, CISA and CISM are very different. Now, I will also call your attention to the fact that CISA is for auditing and CISM is for management. So auditing of information systems is a scope of CISA, whereas management of information security will be the scope of CISM. So this was basically an overview. Now in the next slides, we'll actually get deeper into what CISM would mean and what people who do CISM, right? What are their responsibilities and roles? And going forward, what kind of career prospects do they offer, right? So are we ready? If you're ready to go to the next slides, please type yes. So CSAP is basically, what it tests is basically, as an exam. What CISM tests is your knowledge first of the governance principles. Governance is where you set the rules for information security. Again, it's not for the organization. It's not for the information systems even, right? But it is for the security of information and the information systems. Why do you say the security of information systems? Because either the output or either the input or the output of any system would be information, right? So think about it. Today we're in a technology age, right? So most of even the IT, what we do in terms of IT, we are handling information, right? So there is a bit of an overlap, a lot of the confusion between why people generally get confused whether we want to do CISA or CISM is because of this basic thing that, there is that aspect of information, right? So specific to the certification itself, iCircle's CISM exam, it tests you in information security governance domain, and then it would also test you in information risk management. The third domain that it tests you would be in strategy and the program development for information security. And then the entire bread and butter of information security is about any security incident that occurs, right? So whatever you do, the governance part, the risk management part, right, including the program development part of it that you see here, it's all done finally to one end, which is to prevent any information security incident from occurring, right? Or in other words, to protect information. So this is basically at the core of what a certified information security manager does, right? So moving on from CISM, I will move on to CISA. So CISA, on the other hand, whereas information security focuses on what? It focuses on the strategy of how to protect information, right? And how to protect information assets. When you say information assets, you also mean your devices, your servers, etc., right? So CISM, while it's about the strategy and management of the information systems, CISA would be about the auditing part of it. When you say auditing, what do you mean? So you have certain policies and certain regulations that every company has to operate within, right? So the auditing part, what they do is they check whether you are following or you're complying with these set rules or no. So protection is just one aspect of what an auditor considers, right? But there are a whole lot of other things from a regulatory perspective also that the auditor has to be looking at, right? So you basically, you have a checklist. An auditor would generally have a checklist of, from a compliance perspective, from a conformance perspective, and he would go about testing your environment to see if you're complying with it or no, and if there are any risks that these systems are being exposed to or no, and if you have the right controls in place or not, right? So for a CISA, what iCircle certification exam, what it basically tests you is the systems auditing, right? And if the necessary systems controls are in place, like I said. And it basically also looks at IT governance. It looks at, like you see there, a part of it, what a CISA would be tested for would be security and risk management as well, and compliance and assurance. So while CISM is a management function, CISA would be more of an assurance and compliance function, right? So in simple words, if information security is your place of interest and you want to be a manager of information and information systems in your organization, CISM is the way for you to go. But if you want to be an auditor, you want to check whether, the company, the organization is in compliance from an information systems perspective, right? If the information systems within your organization are in compliance with the set rules and regulations, then CISA is the way for you to go, right? So as I've already explained here, CISA, generally your roles and responsibilities would be compliance, control assessment, and auditing and reporting, right? So when you say control assessment here, what you generally do is you do a risk assessment, right? So you are checking your environment for risk exposures. And then you're also looking at what kind of controls are in place to address these risks. Sorry, I think someone, is it me? Because I think even I have an internet problem here. Harshad, are you able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am. You can continue. Can hear you.
Okay, okay. Because I do see, I think, Gautam there saying there's an internet problem or something. So he's probably got the issue. Yeah, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Right. So where is this overlap, right? Where is this overlap between the responsibilities of CISM and a CISA? That is an information security manager and an information systems auditor. The overlap is basically that both the CISM and the CISA are focusing on securing the IT systems, right? But apart from securing the IT systems, for instance, CISA can also have the responsibility of auditing the systems for availability, right? Their uptime, their downtime, right? And those kind of aspects. The scope of this today's discussion will not allow us to go too deep into it will not allow us to go too deep into the concepts of confidentiality, integrity, and availability. But for us, I think for now, what you need to understand is when you say you're protecting the information security, confidentiality means protecting information from being accessed by people who are not allowed access to it. You're not supposed to know something, so I will prevent you from knowing it, right? Integrity would mean you're not allowed to change my information So I'm going to put controls in place to protect the integrity of my systems, right? Availability would mean that you would like to have access to this information in order to perform your job role. And am I ensuring that this availability, this information is available for you at the time when you need and the right amount of information that you need, right? So someone says he's in love with cybersecurity, so I think CISM is the way for you. So I think so far the discussion that we've had, right? What is the critical difference here? So if you are focusing on cybersecurity, which program do you think you need to go for, CISA or CISM? Please type in there. So if cybersecurity is your place of interest, do you go for CISA or CISM? Dilip says CISM. She says CISM as well. CISM. Yes, yes, yes. So you got it right now. So if your focus is information security or cyber security, right? Again, information security and cyber security are not the same thing, but that discussion probably will take it up another time, maybe in another webinar. But yes, if you would like, if your interest is core in cybersecurity, then CISM is the way for you to go. However, if information systems, right, IT is your interest, then, and in that too, right, auditing is your interest, right? Then you need to be going into auditing also means detect and analyze security. Definitely, yes. But auditing also has, when you're trying to say information systems auditing, right? Auditing the systems from a security perspective is a small aspect of what CISA does, right? And then when CISM is from a strategic point, auditing is from a compliance point. Okay, so that is the difference. And auditing has several other aspects to it other than cybersecurity. Do we understand that? So whoever understands whatever we've been explaining so far, do type yes. Anyone who doesn't follow, feel free to type no so we can have a Q&A later. So I apologize for the mistake there. It should not be CISA roles. This particular slide is about CISM. So apologies for that mistake. That would be CISM roles and responsibilities. So as I've reiterated before, CISM is more from a strategy perspective, right? And when I say strategy, the reason you speak about strategy is information does not mean the same thing for all of us, right? What is valuable for me may not be valuable for you. What is valuable for a certain business need not be of the same value for another business, right? So you need to understand what is the strategic importance of information for your organization, right? So from that perspective, you need to always analyze. Your analysis of information within your organization begins by understanding its criticality from a business perspective or its mission criticality, right? And of course, there is the risk management part. And here, when we say risk management, we are not talking about the organizational risk management, because let's say they are financial risks, they are operational risks. While operational risks could be IT operational risk, can be within the purview of CISA. It is not directly under the purview of a CISM. And why? I think it's not a very interactive session where we will not be able to, listen to each other. I can't hear you, of course. You can hear me. We will probably try to meet in another session and have some discussions on that. But yeah, like I have already stated, the responsibility for a CISM would be the development of information security strategy followed by information security program. To develop this program, the inputs that you get you basically get it from performing the risk assessment of your environment from an information security perspective, right? And any risk that information security risks that have not been managed usually lead to incidents, right? So when that happens, then of course, as an information security manager, your responsibility will be to uh, to do that bit of incident management, right? So that is about CISM. So we've reached the half mark. I will go through the career paths here for CISM professionals and later the CISA professionals. So the career path for CISM professionals, you can also be technical for sure, and it always adds a value. But primarily, an information security manager is more of a tactical and strategic person rather than a technical person. So information security professionals के लिए what you can do is your career path can be of information security manager, where you lead an organization, the organization's information security program, right? And your primary responsibilities will be overseeing the security policies, procedures, and the security controls in terms of the technologies. That's what it means there, right? You can also be a CISO. I think a couple of you are already CISOs here, so congratulations on that. So here, your responsibility is just that your functions would be very similar to to the security manager. However, you are more at a C-suite level, right? So you become accountable. So security manager is more responsible for doing things, for making things happen. However, the ultimate responsibility for the security of information would lie with the CISO, right? You can also be a security consultant, which means an external consultant, right? You can be hired by multiple organizations, taking care of the security needs and all of that. That is also something that you can do if you take this particular career path, right? So moving on, about CISA, the way it is different is, see, this is not about information security. This is about information technology systems, right? This is about the IT systems. So you can become an auditor, you can become a security analyst, right? You can become an IT analyst also, not just a security analyst. You can also become an IT analyst, right? And to be a bit more specific about it, a CISM can also be a security analyst. Why not, right? Because you are what you do as part of your job responsibilities as a security analyst is you analyze the threats in your environment and you understand the vulnerability within your organization, right? And you recommend controls in accordance to that, right? And finally, whatever we do is to do what? To manage risk, keep them at a minimum, and ensure that whenever an incident does occur, you are able to detect it promptly, and then you are able to respond to the incident in a timely fashion, right? Where you're minimizing any negative impact on your organization, right? So you can also be a risk and compliance officer, right? So that just brings us to what could be the concluding slide here from an ISACA perspective. So ISACA being a very reputed certification body for cybersecurity and related courses, information technology courses. It does add a lot of credibility. So let's say if you're looking for a career transition, or you're looking even for a growth within your career, for a promotion, or you're looking to switch your jobs, right? CISM certifications, ISACA certifications can add a lot of value. And of course, CISM and CISA certifications can, being ISACA certifications can also add a lot of value to your profile, right? You can have, like I said, new opportunities opening up for you because a lot of you here are freshers or trying to transition. So it can open up really good opportunities. And to be honest, I'm a big fan, like most of you here, I'm a big fan of cybersecurity, not just because it's my area of interest, but I think it is evergreen, right? Because uh, technology is there, technology is evolving, right? It is this rapid innovation happening, right? So as long as there is technology, they are threats, right? As long as they are threats, cybersecurity is going to be, right? So from that perspective too, I think it does give us a whole lot of job security, I feel, if you're into cybersecurity, because it is one of the emerging skills right now. I think it's one of the top 10 according to the World Economic Forum, right? So it gives you a competitive edge. Yes, these kind of certifications definitely do that. So there we are. I think just on if you want to decide how to go about whether you want to select your, to go with the CISM certification or with the CISA certification, then you can start first by understanding what your career goals and your aspirations are, where you are at currently are right now against your aspirations, and then also do look at the industry requirements, right? And of course, like I said, go with credible courses. Like there are a lot of courses out there in the market, but go with courses that have that bit of credibility because of the certification bodies. Like there is ISACA, of course, there is ISC Square, which is another discomp tier. So all of them do offer certain reputed, certifications out of them, right? So that brings us to the end of this discussion. And I think I can open up the floor for any Q&A. Harshit, is this going to be an audio Q&A? I think I prefer it that way because this honestly sounds a whole one-sided.
Uh, yeah, currently we have not set it the audio. Okay, so we are having open the chat box and Q&A session, Q&A. So they will type into the chat box or the Q&A, and we will address those queries.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks, Harshit. Thank you. So yes, any of you, I think a lot of you were, asking questions previously. Could you please start typing them here? So you mean to say that auditing is also an indirect or a basic part of CISM? Auditing is not a basic part of CISM. Information security, in fact, is a subset of the information systems, right? Because information can be an input into the systems and it can be an output of the systems, correct? So, and systems would carry information. Now, as we go, there's that kind of a blurring these days between, technology and information. So, in fact, a lot of the frameworks these days have quit calling things as IT and they started calling it as INT. So, there's that bit of differentiation. But auditing is like conducting a test, correct? So, there is, sorry, CISM will be familiar with internal audits also. Is my understanding correct? CISM will be familiar with internal audits to the extent of information security. Internal audits can be at various levels, right? From a regulatory compliance level, right? There are regulations out there. Like, for example, if you're healthcare organizations, HIPAA could be a regulation. So your internal audit could actually assess you for HIPAA, right? So there is that bit of information security, requirement that comes from a privacy perspective over there, right? But apart from information security compliance requirements, there are a lot of other compliance requirements out there, right? CISM security analyst post CISM के साइड स्टैंड करता है. Sorry. Harshit, can you help me understand that?
Yeah, I'm just checking, ma'am. 1 second.
Any other questions meanwhile? Kush, I'll come back to you. But meanwhile, are there any other questions?
Yeah, we have opened the Q&A session. So you can type in the Q&A box. Yeah, anyone have a question? Please type in the Q&A box.
Harshit, I'm not able to access that. Do we have any questions?
Yes, we have the question.
But Harshit, I'm not able to access the Q&A.
Yeah, ma'am. I will read for you. Yeah, the Akash is asking how to easily get a job from IT field.
How to easily get a job from IT field, is it?
Yeah.
What kind of certifications do you have, Akash? Do you have any certifications currently in IT or experience in IT? Work experience? Harshit, don't you think the chat room is probably a little more convenient unless you can give me access to the Q&A?
Yes, I am trying to give you access to Q&A. Yeah, the second question is Dilip is asking, how can we effectively upgrade your cybersecurity skills?
When you say upgrade, I need to know where you are at currently. So do you have any certifications currently in cybersecurity? And what are your aspirations, right? So just like you can see what's there on the screen, right? You need to identify where you want to get to. And for that, again, you need to understand your current state, where you are at now.
Yeah.
Dilip, could you use the chat box? Harshad, is that okay?
Yeah, once again. Yeah, we have another question from Yatin. ISO 20001 lead auditor versus CISA, which has a wider reach.
Could you repeat that?
Yeah, ISO 21000 lead auditor versus CISA, which has a wider reach.
Okay. CISA is more conceptual, right? And CISA speaks about multiple frameworks from a 50,000 feet above, right? So it does not take a very close look at it. So CISM is more about giving you concepts. It's not a framework, right? But yes, when you come to, did you say ISO 27K? Is that what he said, Harshad?
Yeah, he just said the auditor versus CISA, which has a wider reach, not
I would
specified.
say, I would say CISA would have a wider reach for sure, but from an implementation perspective, if any organization has that specific requirement, then yes, I think ISO makes sense. But I definitely would go for CISA.
Okay, again, Hariharan is asking, suggest me certification for cyber analyst in an affordable price.
Cyber analyst. When you say cyber analyst, you mean from a technical perspective, something like ethical hacking. So I think CEH is a way to go. Can we go back to the other questions, Harshad? Because I think we've
Yeah,
not responded to Dilip and
yeah. So Gautam is asking, what are the procedure to get CISM or CISA career path in future?
career path is basically what you want to do. CISM and CISA, they're basically, what probably aid you to I mean, what would open those doors for you, right? So first off, what is the door that you want opened? That would be the question, right? So if you have a CISA or a CISM, it's like a key to the door, correct? But what is the door that you actually want to open? And then CISA and CISM, I think we've spent at least 45 minutes speaking about them as two very different paths, right? So where is your interest? Do you want to assess systems? Is that what you want to do? Or do you want to design security? What is it that you want to do? So if you want to design security, the security environment, lay down the rules for the security of information within your organization, CISM is a good way for you to go. But if generally technology is your place of interest and ensuring that your organization is compliant with the requirements, right? Is then I think CISA is the way for you to go.
Yeah. No. So Dilip is asking again, can you figure out few good certification other than ISACA, which are more authenticative?
More authentic.
Authenticative.
Okay, you
Other
mean
than,
to
yeah, other than ISACA. He is asking for a good certification other than ISACA.
right. See, ISACA from an information security perspective, it has CISM. CISA is not cybersecurity. Let's first get that out of the way. Now, CISM is more from a manager's perspective, right? But there is another much more competitive and credible or an authentic certification out there in information security, which is called CISSP, right? So this is offered by ISC Square, but this is also a little more technical than CISM, right? Where you have to know a lot more about the security controls, like, firewalls, like you need to know what are DLP systems, right? You need to know a whole lot of this information, right? You need to know a little bit of cryptography. I'm sorry, that was a slip of tongue. Cryptography.
Yeah,
Has your
sure.
question been answered, Dalip? So if you want to go for something easier, if you think CISM is tough, you want to go with something easier, but still help you advance your career, then CompTIA has Security Plus, which is a good way to go. If you're much more of an entry level, because I do see quite a few of you here are, I think, students, right? So a great way for you to go is IC Square has certified in cybersecurity, CC, that's what they call it. They have that certification. And in fact, a lot of you will be very happy to know that it is free of cost, right? So they provide you the training material on there, right? And I'm sure Knowlathon also offers this as a course if you need more help, right? So you can take that, and CC is a free exam, that you can all apply for, and it's an entry level which covers a good, it will give you a very good, conceptual understanding of what cybersecurity and information security are. Okay. So how many of you think you may want to go with CC? Please type yes in the chat box if any of you have plans maybe to go with CC. So CC is the easiest one right now, and it has really good credibility because it comes from IC Square. Then the next level, and I'm talking about this in terms of difficulty, right? CC ke baad mein you can actually go with, like I said, CompTIA Security Plus. Then CISM is a much more tougher, certification to crack, which is also why it has a lot of acceptance and credibility in the market. It will open up a lot of closed doors for you if you go with CISM. And CISSP is again a very competitive exam with it has a high entry barrier, right? Really tough exam to crack, also because of the format of the exam, right? Because whereas CISM is something which is simply multiple choice, and you just go, there's no negative marking, there's nothing like that. But CISSP has a CAT model. When you say a CAT model, as you are responding to a question, right, it will start off with easy questions, which means the marks for easy questions is less. So as you're able to answer, the difficulty of the questions keeps increasing, and so do your score for them, right? But then if you get one wrong, then again the difficulty will start decreasing as you're answering. So the score will just keep going sinusoidal depending on how you respond to them and how easy or difficult they are, right? It's a bit complicated. Yeah. Any questions, Harsha?
Yes, Nilesh is asking, I applied for CC but can't complete study in time. So now it's locked for me. I can't access it. So how I access for free it again?
Well, actually, this happened to my son as well. I asked my son to apply and he tried, and it happened to him as well. But I think one way to go is you can write to them. You can basically tell them, give them a valid reason, like, work or your study or something, right? And see if they respond back to you. Mostly they do.
All right. So ma'am, Gautam is asking, I am a food technology student. So this cybersecurity or CSAM is applicable in my field.
Food, is it?
Gautam I am a food technology student.
Food as in khana.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So this
You
cybersecurity or CSAM is applicable in my field.
see, I will forget food for a bit and I'll just try to focus on technology. So wherever there's technology, there are threats, right, in the environment. And wherever there are these threats, there will be, importance of cybersecurity there.
Okay. All right, ma'am.
Can we go back to the early questions? Because I don't think we've addressed them.
So early question.
I think there's one from Dilip and
Dilip, Dilip, the first question Dilip has asked, how can we effectively upgrade our cybersecurity skills? I think we have answered.
Yeah,
Upgrade
okay.
our
Like
cyber.
I said, it depends on where you are at right now. If you're completely at a beginner level, I think, yeah, you're right, Harshad. I've answered to other questions, but I think this question has been answered along the way as well. So if you're at a beginner level, start off, I would highly recommend CC to anybody who's just started, because not only is it free, but then it does give you a very good conceptual knowledge of cybersecurity, right? Start from there, then Security Plus could be the way to go, or the exams. Or as I do understand, certifications and maintenance of certifications these days are expensive. So I would say choose it wisely. Uh, I'm from a cybersecurity industry itself. I've worked as a GRC manager, like, for 7+ years in telco. What I do see and understand, even from my colleagues, most of us have always aspired for CISM or CISSP because these are gold standards in cybersecurity.
Okay. So next question from Hariharan. Can you elaborate about CC?
Uh, okay. So CC2 has multiple domains. It does address a bit about governance. And when it addresses about governance, then it tells you what are the various elements of governance. And when I say that, I only mean information security governance, right? By default, I mean information security governance. So that is what, okay, that's the governance part of it. Then it also speaks about information risk management from a very, very high level. It doesn't get too deep and talk about the control aspects of it and all of that, just the framework kind of a thing, right? So what the idea is that you understand the terms, the definitions, and maybe to some extent the purpose of them, right? Those are the aspects that you try to understand. It tells you a little bit later about the controls as well. It'll tell you what is access control, right? And what are the access control methodologies, right? Like, there's something called, something you have, so, the authentication part of it, right? So identification, authentication, authorization, and all of these aspects from a very conceptual level, like definition, right? That is what CC will prepare you with. So you will basically understand कि हाँ, you know what, आपको बाइक चलाना है, तो you'll get to understand कि हाँ, इसका एक गियर भी है या 4 गियर है, ब्रेक कहाँ पे है, right? All those kind of nitty-gritties, you just understand that, right? मगर चलाना नहीं आएगा आपको, उसके लिए you probably have to go, do CISM and a CISSP and that sort of stuff.
Okay.
Any other questions? I think we have 5 minutes to go.
Yeah, I think we have covered all the questions from participants.
Right. So, Harshit, from I think Knowlathon perspective, I'll allow you to close it. I'll move on to the next slide. And I think you can close the session, right? Thank you all. Thank you so much. It was really nice having you. I honestly, 1 hour session is a little, I think, less to to give you a lot more information. But for anybody who wants more information, feel free. I think we do have emails or LinkedIn accounts, for Knowlathon, where you can reach us and ask more questions. And we are happy to have a one-on-one consultation with you, right? Thank you so much for your time. Over to you, Harshit.
Yeah, all right. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for guiding us for our attendees. And I hope you found this webinar both educational and enjoyable. So I hope you guys, you're feeling awesome. If you have any queries, you can just connect with us. For sure, our team will get back to you. And so once again, thank you. Thank you, all of you. Bye, guys. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone, for joining this
Thank you
webinar.
all.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you,
Bye.
Harshit.
Bye, everyone.